In the trap.
Yo,
Yeah, should go for it, man.
Inshallah.
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 Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Is it distorted?
Yeah, it is.
Let's get it. Welcome to what? Say it, Dan.
Episode 8, what? Of the Dan and Neb Show?
It could be 8, it could be 80. Yeah, it's episode 8. Welcome to Dan and Neb. What's good, boys?
Welcome, everyone. By the title of today's episode, you can probably tell. Ukraine?
Ukraine question mark.
Question mark?
What is going on?
What is going on, dude?
In the wheat country? What is going on?
We've obviously seen a lot in the news.
Thanks to Twitter.
Shout out to Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you all have too. And this obviously a terrible, terrible situation is continuing to unfold. Seems like it's only getting more intense as Russia continues to push into Ukraine. But what's really going on? Like what's going on behind the scenes? How did we get here? You know, we already did an episode on Russia and Ukraine, obviously, and this is, I guess, our follow-up. Nebby first. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, terrible is an understatement, to be honest. This is bad shit crazy. This is like, I've never seen anything like this, especially like in Europe. You wouldn't think, right? Because they mostly just like do backhand deals and stuff like that.
Right.
But with Ukraine and Russia, yeah, they're really going at it. Basically, you have the Russians, as I said last episode, they think that Ukraine's part of their country. Same linguistics, cultural, and stuff like that. They're both Orthodox and whatnot. And it's mostly security apparatus. So the Russians, they don't want the Ukrainians to be part of NATO or European Union. They kind of want to be like, they basically want Ukraine to be like Belarus, except with an actual economy. Belarus is kind of like a joke of a country, right? It's basically under Russia. So they want the same thing with Ukraine. Ukraine wants to fight for its independence. They want to be liberated. They want to be hip and cool. They want to be European, and all that goofy stuff. So I mean, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic and very interesting conflict. But what we're hearing in the news is not what's actually happening, right? You're like, Dan and Neb, how do you guys know what's actually happening? I mean, we read, obviously. But, I mean, besides, open one up. Yeah, guys. Like,
then you can be like us and start a podcast.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Like, you can actually learn a thing or two. But, basically, the Ukrainians, they basically got bamboozled in this conflict because President Zelensky, right? He thought that the United States and the other European countries and NATO and stuff like that, and even Canada to an extent, they were actually going to help Ukraine into fighting this conflict, right? By actually putting ground forces. This is going to be like, the great hurrah. We're going to have a grand coalition against the evil red communists and stuff like that. But he was wrong, okay? Because the United States, we kind of like antagonize everything just so we can like sell them weapons. We don't actually want you guys, like they actually don't want the Ukrainians to win or lose this battle. They care less. It's all about the military stuff, you feel me? They want to sell weapons.
I don't know about that. I mean, no, you're right. You are right about one thing.
Yeah.
We do want to sell weapons.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just give you an example. With that $14 billion aid package that's allegedly supposed to go to Ukraine.
I mean, Joe Biden said it. I mean, he probably forgot it by now, but he did mention, I'm going to give $12.6 billion to Ukraine.
That's not
Putin
actually...
must step down.
That's not what's happening. That's not this money. I think it was like a portion of that is actually going towards, humanitarian aid and military aid in the form of fighter jets, anti-aircraft missiles, that sort of thing. But I'll just give you one example.
Yeah.
Poland has made a deal with the U.S. where they are going to be trading their MiG fighter jets for F-16s.
That's pretty smart.
It is. Yeah, it's great for Poland. Fantastic.
They're great jets, yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, what's the United States going to do with those MiGs? Nothing, right? Well, they're going to give them to Ukraine. That's part of the
Wow.
the deal.
Everything but ground soldiers, right?
So, Boeing gets some sales. That's pretty
Have you seen their stock? I'm making good profit.
Hey, by the way, Raytheon
hit $103.
Well, Northrop Grumman is damn near $500.
Yeah, Boeing's like almost at what? Almost 200. It's at 188. Yeah, stock market, it's going really
defense
bad, but except for defense contracting.
Yep,
yeah.
they're chilling. They do benefit from this sort of thing, and I think, for what I read is correct.
Yeah.
Almost $10 billion of that spending bill, maybe not 10 billion. I forget the numbers. Maybe like 5 billion.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to the Pentagon.
Okay, that's not that bad. It was pretty good. I like the shape of the Pentagon.
It is
I think
Pentagon.
it's a Pentagon. Yeah, it's a Pentagon.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's not a dodecahedron, you know?
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
I think it's a 12-sided shape. I'm pretty sure. Anyways.
Yeah,
so
I kind
they're
of forgot about
sending
third grade.
a good chunk of that money is going back to the U.S.
Okay.
And as you can see, you know, no surprise here.
That's a good back on investments. So Joe
Sure,
Biden actually, he might not be that bad of a president. He might be thinking about the
you know,
long term.
The thing is,
Or he
know,
might
it's
forget.
funny because
I
this
don't know.
entire bill is slated as a Ukraine relief bill.
Yeah.
But they are using it as an excuse. There's a very common theme here.
Yeah.
The gas companies use any kind of conflict as an excuse to hike the prices of gas.
Of course.
And the politicians use any kind of crisis to increase defense budget spending.
I'm not really against increasing defense spending. That's like totally fine. That's like, you know, the American dream, right? Like that's what we do in America. It's totally fine. Like obviously we live near Washington D.C. We understand that, all that goofy stuff and all that cool stuff. But what's really, really sad is that the people of Ukraine are suffering. They're actually suffering this conflict, even though the president kind of purposely did this kind of thing. You know what I mean? In the sense that the only thing he had to do or say to prevent this war from happening was just to say, "Hey, Russia, we understand that this is a huge security risk for you. We understand that. We won't join NATO, but we won't join you." You know what I mean? We're going to be neutral. We'll be like Switzerland, but much larger, and in Eastern Europe. If he said and did that, this conflict wouldn't have happened.
You think so?
And no, it would not have happened. Because there's no point.
There would have to have been an actual deal.
The deal was being discussed, I think, ever since Zelensky became president in 2019. There's always been a deal in that sense. They're going to negotiate about the Donbass region and Crimea, and then sign an agreement basically declaring neutrality in all conflicts between the West and the East,
Right.
between Russia and the United States. But Ukraine under, I guess, the illusion of friendship from the United States, right, which doesn't really mean anything, I guess, in that part of the world. They basically said, yeah, it's up to you guys. He literally thought he was going to get weapons and all these other resources from the United States, but turns out he didn't get anything. Now the people of Ukraine are suffering. This is practically like in Afghanistan, but in Europe.
Right.
Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, I think he remembers saying this, but he said that he was going to bring 100,000 refugees from Ukraine.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a lot.
But yet he still has that thing in Afghanistan. There's literally Americans still stuck in Afghanistan.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm
you
not
understand his
against,
priorities.
Well, I'm not against. Oh, that's America, bro. Come on.
Yeah,
Don't care
but I
about
mean, I feel like
Afghanistan for resources.
it just gets worse. I mean, I don't know.
No,
Empire is kind of
this
like.
is par for the course.
Mm.
Don't get your hopes up in America.
Oh, I'm not. Literally here to make money and go back to, my ancestral home. Actually, I'm not going back to Eritrea. Yeah, you got me fucked up going back there. No, not going there. Not going there. Probably joining, the fam back in Dubai or something. Kind of expensive, but,
All you.
it doesn't
Not me.
matter.
But all you.
I can be with grandma, but she actually came back. But be with her. She's kind of chill. She'd be like, "Whoa, never." I'm like,
So
Yeah.
I want to bring something up that we talked about earlier.
"Yeah, bring it up."
It's the fact that a lot of people don't know this, but Ukraine actually used to have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, they did because they were a Soviet satellite state.
They were a Soviet satellite state.
Each of those republics
had
had
nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
They gave up those nuclear weapons after independence
idiots.
in the 90s.
Idiots,
Early
idiots,
90s.
idiots. I think in Spanish they call them pendejos, right? Some Spanish chick told me that. Yeah,
See,
pendejos. They're
it's-
muy
it-
pendejos.
It's interesting. It's interesting that mutually assured destruction
Yeah.
would have prevented this too.
Yes. But now the Ukrainians are basically, they're just like every other Joe country without nuclear weapons.
Pretty much.
Nuclear weapons are like, your shield, your Great Wall of China per se, right? If you don't have that, you're a joke of a country. Think about South Africa.
Right.
They gave up their nuclear weapons in 1991.
Right. We talked about this too.
You know how silly that was? They literally transitioned from a first world country to a second world country in this matter of 10 years.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's the African National Congress for you. Just as they're more incompetent than the Indian National Congress. Something with national and Congress doesn't really make sense, It's a cliche.
We might as well rename our Congress to the National Congress.
Oh god, no, you'd be
They're
doing those
just
idiots a
as
favor.
useless.
Nah, bro, that's
They're
like
just as useless.
no, but it seemed like they agreed on Ukraine. But they don't want me to give $1 billion
course.
to the actual United States.
Yeah,
$1 billion will solve homeless people.
Probably We would.
Hey, but those internships back in undergrad, we wouldn't have them. Solving a homeless crisis and all that whatnot.
It's really funny how quick, and it's not that, like, obviously Ukraine needs this aid.
Yeah.
That much is incredibly obvious, and I'm not against that.
No, of course.
I just think it's incredibly
we support
ironic.
Ukraine against the Reds.
I just think it's ironic that when it comes to domestic things, we never have this kind of unity.
No, then we have idiots like, exactly.
When it comes to our own country, like, when we have really good ideas on the table that could actually help us with with a difficult situation that we have at home, we're not willing to do anything about it. I swear politicians in this country hate America. They're
doing it on purpose. And then we have these idiots from, like, West Virginia. I don't know what's up with that state. Joe Manchin. Oh, the real president. Yeah. He's like,
my God.
I don't understand this bill. I'm not signing it. He's not signing it because he can't fucking read the bill. He's not reading the bill.
It's not that he can't understand
and the Build Back Better thing. Build Back Better thing.
Yeah, you just want to read it in the first place.
Something about, like, it's not good for my state. It is good for your state. His state will benefit out of, like, all the states. His state will actually benefit. But yet again, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. I didn't forget about that. Kyrsten Sinema didn't do anything either, bro. Yeah, I mean,
it's ridiculous.
That's why our domestic policies are shit, but our foreign policies are, are crisp like a paper.
Right.
Yeah.
We can get behind anything when it comes to foreign policy.
In 20 seconds, we do everything in foreign policy. Oh my gosh, like.
Look at how fast they approved that spending.
They didn't have to deliberate. They didn't even deliberate. They didn't deliberate.
And again,
they even go through the steps.
We support the spending that they're doing in Ukraine. I think is absolutely necessary.
$13 billion though? That's a B, not an M.
It's a lot of money. Military is expensive.
But I understand that weapons cost a lot of money. But the Ukrainians are also getting aid from the European Union.
Right.
They're like, the Asian tigers like Japan and even certain South Korea and stuff like that.
I support that thing, that kind of thing. But,
yeah.
Why can we not have this attitude at home? Like,
I think they're purposely trying to screw everyone over.
This is my question to you, the American people, and any politicians for whatever reason that's listening to this podcast. Because 90% of the time we're insulting you as politicians.
Yes.
But if you are listening, why is it so difficult to get this kind of unity when it comes to ourselves?
It's an interesting question, Muscan. I mean, I'm not trying to really go away from the Ukraine or anything, but this is a very important topic. Like, I went to Capitol Hill before the January 6th shenanigans with my school.
Right.
With, like, these Democrats, young Republicans. And I actually talked to a couple politicians on the Hill. They just blamed the other side. No, seriously. They're like, why don't you just tell those Democrats to actually do something? I'm just like, huh. And then I'm like, I talked to Angus King, right? Senator Angus King. He's independent from Massachusetts, whatever. He's like, well, I don't have any opinions, but the Republicans tend to not really do anything in the House per se, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, okay, this is interesting. You guys are all idiots. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen. Like, I'll show you I remember I showed you the picture of those guys I was talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen, dude. I'm just like, they're like, but foreign policy, like, Chris, I mean, the whole Afghanistan thing was, unfortunate, and I think a lot of politicians don't want to repeat that in Ukraine.
And we can't. The thing is,
so I think accepting those refugees is probably a good idea.
Yeah, that side of things, that's great. That's
100,000 is not a lot of people,
especially compared to
that might save West Virginia if we put them all there. No, think about it. Because everyone's leaving West Virginia because it's such a shitty state. If we get those refugees from Ukraine, put them in West Virginia. Yeah, we might have like the thing in South Park, like a Soto Soap. I might have a Whole Foods. Might have a Starbucks and a Panera. It'll be kind of nice. Yeah,
that's actually not
put
a
a Gold's
idea.
Gym. Put a Lifetime.
Stop sending them to DC.
Yeah, they don't need
There's
to be in
enough
DC.
people here.
We don't need a DC. We don't need DC,
places
bro.
where there aren't people.
We have enough Orthodox churches already. Like, just put them in West Virginia. Joe Manchin can actually probably agree with them because they brought them in.
They might like raise the average IQ in West Virginia just by going there.
Yeah, probably by threefold. Yeah. It would be crazy. It'll be crazy. Not necessarily the IQ. They'll actually change and better the state. Because once you pass Front Royal, that's the end of civilization.
Dude, Ukrainians have nuclear plants back home.
Yeah.
They could build nuclear plants in West Virginia.
Half of them were Soviet science anyway, so like, they can just go back there. So yeah, it's fine.
We've got all the solutions, man.
Yeah, we do.
You guys should just vote
Immigration
for us,
can work if you actually place the immigrants in strategic locations where there's not that many people.
Right.
That's called westward expansion. Bro, come on, dude. Like, instead of having these bubbles like in New York, D.C., and L.A., you can kind of spread them out.
Spread
and then
the wealth.
Just give them housing. maybe a couple $100, not call it welfare, call it a stimulus, like, a stimulus check, right? And they can actually better the economy. Immigration's good if you use it the right way. Let's bring these Ukrainians. Let's bring all of them, 500,000. Fuck it, who cares? We can actually save this country by this conflict.
We got a declining birth rate anyway.
Yeah, dude. Especially with the. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, but, we have people are not tend to not have kids anymore. Because they want to focus on careers and whatnot. And
right.
All that stuff.
Life is consuming now.
Yeah, and then we're also living longer as a species, right? Rather than
right.
67, now we're like 80, 90, which is a good thing. But we need more people from outside to come to the United States. The United States is one of the biggest countries in the world when it comes to landmass.
Right.
Yeah, and so.
But in terms of population density, it's very low.
Yeah, because we have all these hub spots. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's similar like the suburb kind of thing. Now we have these. Yeah. So.
Yep.
I mean, that's the one positive thing Joe Biden actually did was actually, promise to bring 100,000 refugees from Ukraine. Now we need to bring those refugees from Afghanistan, right? Put them in the other part of West Virginia. Now what do we have?
Now West Virginia's the
now
richest
we
state
have
in America.
Brooklyn. Now we have Brooklyn. Now we have Brooklyn.
The
Now
richest
we're
state in the
working.
country.
We have Ukrainians,
Let's go.
Afghans, and then
You know what?
we can include the Haitians and stuff like that. We can actually.
I'm 100% for this.
Yeah, immigration's good only if you use it the right
that's
thing.
The thing,
dude.
America, we just don't understand the good things that we are actually capable of.
Yeah.
That will actually benefit ourselves.
All the good things we do are unintentional. It's unintentional. It's all by accident. It's all by
All
accident.
the good things we do are unintentional, but they end up being really good.
Yeah.
But then everything we try to do is a fucking disaster.
Exactly.
You know, we need
Now
to
you're
stop
learning.
trying.
Stop
America
trying.
needs to stop trying, man.
Everything kind of works out in this country for some reason. Just whatever. But what else with Ukraine? With the CNN and all those MSNBC and all those guys, they're saying that Russia is losing the war. They're not losing. They're winning. They're not losing. They're winning.
We just saw this video.
And it's bad for Ukraine.
We just saw this video.
It's bad for Ukraine.
We just saw this video by Vox that showed people's houses and whatnot, after getting bombed. Dude, the size of these bombs that they're dropping into the suburbs, man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Bigger than my Corolla. I'm so serious. Impressive.
Yo.
And it's not compensation. It's actually kind of impressive. But I couldn't imagine anyone saying that Ukraine is winning this war. That's a bit ridiculous.
Goodness, dude. They're using bombs I've never even heard of.
Dude,
using.
There was this video in the Vox little piece.
Yeah.
Of this bomb that dropped on some poor old woman's house, and it was bigger than the woman.
Damn.
It was just ridiculous, and I can't imagine her house was a strategic military outpost.
No, it wasn't. It looks like a farmer's market. What the,
Dude, it's ridiculous. And I mean, okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
What is Russia's intentions here, and why is it so aggressive?
It's because I think the Russians they're used to doing stuff like this. That's probably that's such a dumb answer, blah blah blah. Neb, they used to do this when the war with Georgia. They went all in. Chechnya, they bombed the shit out of Grozny. They went all in. So I think they kind of now copying the United States, where United States, they basically, without thinking, they just bomb everything and then they try to fix it with logistics and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that's what the Ukrainians were doing. That's what the Russians are doing now. Because in the earlier part of the conflict in late February, the Russians were basically just want to dismantle everything without actually killing anybody, remove the government, remove the alleged neo-Nazis, and then install a puppet government.
Right.
Now that strategy is not working because Zelensky now has the people support.
Right.
AKA the moral support. And now, basically, Zelensky has the upper hand when it comes to social media and CNN and stuff like that. And so Russia's end game is just basically just go all in and just destroy the whole entire country. And that's what they're doing. There's a place called Mariupol. They destroyed it. But if you go on CNN, Fox News, all those other guys, they would be like, Ukraine is actually winning the war. And so now it's just, Russia's winning the war, but not the social war. And his intention is to incorporate at least half of Ukraine or all of Ukraine into maybe a neo-style Soviet Union bloc, similar to what he has with Belarus and similar to what he has with South Ossetia and Kazakhstan and all those other countries.
It wouldn't be as simple as Belarus. Like,
Well, yeah,
not-
Belarus, like
in the sense where
that country's
I mean,
called
if you
Belarusia,
listen to
actually.
if you listen to the rhetoric,
Yeah,
if you listen to what Putin's actually saying,
yeah.
I mean, this dude he sounds like he just wants to absorb the country into Russia.
No, he does because
That
he
sounds like his
believes
intention.
he believes that Ukraine is part of Russia, which historically,
even-
to a certain
it
extent,
kind of was.
it was. Because last episode I mentioned that a couple episodes ago, the Russian like the Russian elite actually came from Ukraine a long time ago.
Right.
The something of Kiev, I think the Kolonet of Kiev or something like that, or I don't know, something like that. And so Ukraine and Russia have a similar history, you know,
Right. I mean,
very
they
tightly
have a
close
shared
history. But it doesn't give justification for Russia to actually do what they're doing in Ukraine.
I don't believe it does.
And then Vladimir Putin obviously not blaming himself, blaming the past leaders like usual. He's blaming Lenin for giving Ukraine its own Soviet style status or something like that. So this guy's full of shit, dude. I mean, it's very unfortunate, but he definitely wants to bring back the Soviet Union. He definitely wants to bring back the Soviet Union with a mix of the Russian Empire, and I think he might be successful.
So how can this play out? How can Ukraine play out?
What's gonna happen
what are
is
the
that
possibilities here?
okay, this is what's going to happen. Zelensky, Putin, they're going to send their emissaries and their advisors to basically a neutral country, such as maybe Turkey or Poland. Now, Poland's not necessarily neutral, but they're not they're not too much pro-Europe or not really anti-Russia. They're kind of like in between,
Okay.
per se, due to their history. They're trying to negotiate. Basically, I think what Putin, his last resource is going to be like, hey, I want you guys not to join NATO. And basically, the regions of Crimea and Donbass, right? They have to be, and Sevastopol, they have to be recognized by Ukraine as Russian territory. That will help. That will basically calm everything down. And then the rest of Ukraine is the Ukraine. I think that's what's going to happen. But that's last case scenario. Both sides don't want that because Vladimir Putin is using
them get what they want.
Exactly. Vladimir Putin is using this exercise, special military operation, or whatever he wants to call it, as a pretext of staying in power for longer than his term.
Right.
Because he already had his 2 terms as president from 2000 to 2008.
And then
he became prime minister from 2008 to 2012.
Right.
And now from 2012 to 2020, he was supposed to be, president. He was supposed to be out of office by now.
Right.
Yeah, but I think he's using this war, maybe using the emergency act rules, basic laws, to basically be in power.
Right.
And so Russia wants Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't want Russia, and that's where we're at. They're gonna do all these especially like Israel Palestine. You have these peace deals every 2 or 3 years. It doesn't really do much. That's what's gonna happen with Ukraine and Russia.
God forbid, man.
I don't see this war ending. Because dude, the Syrian civil war is still going on, right?
Right.
The Ethiopian civil war. I mean,
It's
I guess
winding
Ethiopian
down,
it's winding down, but it's still going on. It's been 2 years.
Right.
So the Russians are promising this operation is going to be 30 days. Syrian government said this is going to be probably in 6 months. Those conflicts are still going on.
Right.
So this conflict is not going anywhere. And especially if Russia beats Ukraine, Belarus is already part of, Lukashenko, whatever the fuck his name is. He's already under, Putin's thumb. Then Latvia, Estonia, and all those other countries are going to be together. Because with Russia and Belarus borders Latvia and Estonia, right? And the enclave Kaliningrad. Do you know how close Belarus and Kaliningrad are?
No.
About 40 to 50 miles.
So very close.
That territory is either, if I'm not mistaken, either Latvia or Estonia. Vladimir Putin is going to go there, invade one of those 2 countries, and incorporate Kaliningrad, Belarus, Ukraine, South Ossetia, and Russia together as a neo-Russian empire / Soviet empire. That's his dream. This guy's not sleeping.
No, he's not.
This guy was pissed off 1991 about the collapse of the Soviet of the Soviet Union.
This guy was pissed off.
He was part of the KGB. He participated in the failed coup to overthrow Boris Yeltsin, who was the president of Russia at that time, or the premier of Russia. He didn't want the Soviet Union to collapse because then he realized that the Soviet Union collapsed, his comrades are only going to be on the other side. In Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and all those other countries. Those were his friends or his Russian people, or whatever he wants to call them, or Soviet people. So this guy's still pissed about that. It's been 30 years. Imagine having built up anger for 30 years. I'm not even 26 yet. I'm not even 25 yet. I can't even imagine that.
Putin doesn't sleep.
He doesn't sleep.
It's the moral of the story.
So is Sergio and stuff like that. And another story that I came across on the internet, just surfing there and stuff like that, was that there was a potential coup, against Putin by his FSB head.
Okay, I've heard
About the
that.
oligarchs.
I've heard
That's
that now,
that's
like,
SB.
a
I think
few
that's American
times.
BS. Yeah.
It's.
What do you think about that?
I mean, you can never tell what's propaganda and what's not. That's the truth. You really don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah, same
I
here.
doubt it. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's overwhelming support for Putin, regardless of what the West tells you.
Yeah.
There just is. People
That's
see him
also
as a
facts.
strong leader who represents his people. That's what they see him as.
And his people's interests.
And exactly.
His people's interests.
Exactly.
Because the Russian people, they know that maybe 3/4 of their country is unusable. It's just a barren wasteland. That's why they're so pro climate change. Right?
Yeah.
They have a south. They have another
warm it up. Let's
port.
go.
Warming up. Yeah. Yeah. Light a fire. Let me help out. Like that. Like that stuff in California. They dream about having forest fires in their country because that in turn will basically just make the land smooth like a prairie. You know what I mean? Just make it a nice merry pool. Just like make it nice and everything, like nice green grass and everything like that. Make it beautiful and stuff. That's what they basically want.
You're right.
And Ukraine has a lot of wheat and a lot of beautiful grass. And so they want to use Ukraine as a harvesting stock. Basically, a huge farm.
The lay bread basket.
Basically, yeah. The bread basket of
Return
Europe.
to the bread basket.
Yeah. Because literally, people in Russia, dude, like some of the people in the United States only live in 3 or 4 cities.
Right.
If you think about it.
And they're
St.
all
Petersburg,
on the West
yeah.
Coast.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Not too far from those NATO nukes, too. You know what I mean? I don't see Vladimir
Oh my
Putin
God,
going to Serbia.
dude. I saw
Hell
this,
no.
I saw this animation
Mhm.
that showed what it would be like if a nuclear war were to happen.
Yeah.
It is terrifying.
I guess we're going to go back to Eritrea and Ethiopia then, right?
Nothing is safe.
Samara is not looking too bad now.
No, it actually is still looking bad.
They wouldn't go to Eritrea.
It's not that the nuclear bombs would hit
Asmara.
Eritrea. It's that the radiation would.
Oh.
If the U.S.
Not
and
Asmara.
Russia were to, like, within 24 hours, 99% of the world is pretty much uninhabitable by humans.
Damn. So I guess we're either joining Elon Musk, going to Mars.
I think they said like 500 million people would die within like a month.
That's so messed up, dude.
Half a billion
Damn.
people in a month.
The whole nuclear energy talk's out the window then, right? I guess we're
You know
stuck to
what?
solar panels.
This makes it even worse. This actually makes that so much worse.
There goes our
Because
stocks.
there goes our interests, our vested interests, personally,
Yeah.
in nuclear energy. Because now it's going to be even more of a taboo.
Should I pull out in the stock market now with regarding to nuclear energy?
Dude, like,
I don't even know. I'm
I-
not trying to be broke.
I would only invest, and I wouldn't even
I
invest
already
in
get
nuclear
taxed.
energy.
Huh?
I wouldn't invest in nuclear energy because I know I'm not going to profit because America's too stupid and so is the rest of the world.
Wow. Not too late to buy the Tesla stocks.
Oh, no, you're never too late.
No, never too late. Never too late. Never
It's a
too
data
late.
company.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary said that. I remember he said
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
But dude, like Ukraine, bro, like it's just like it's so messed up. Like it's just, and
It's
gonna
sad,
get
man.
worse.
It's so
dude.
sad, and it's that's what we said we were saying about the Ethiopian and Eritrean conflict. It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. It's an Ethiopian conflict that other neighbors are interested in, including Eritrea. I personally support the country, the government. You know, they're cool. You know what I mean? They're all right. But it's kind of iffy. I mean,
But-
they're negotiating too, right? The Tigrayans.
Right, yeah, like there's some
way on
there's
it, way on it in
there's some,
Ethiopians.
there's some process. There's some
Each is
process going on.
Eritrea's pissed about that.
We're not exactly.
That might be a nuclear war. I don't know, man.
Thank God there are no nuclear
If the
weapons.
Tigrayans actually came together and bought a nuclear weapon, they actually might use it. That's how desperate they are. Idiots. Yeah. Anyways,
like I said, it will get worse before it gets better. That's for sure. The only issue is now. You're talking Russia.
yeah. Now you're
They've
talking
got
about, now you're talking about
resources,
Europe,
man. They can keep up a war. Like in Ethiopia, the one thing that couldn't happen was a prolonged conflict, because
I think-
neither side could keep that up.
No, that's why the Ethiopians, actually, Eritreans intervened, and also the Saudis and the Emiratis with their
Right.
drones and stuff like that. It's because I think the Ethiopian military traditionally doesn't necessarily fight prolonged engagements. They usually
Right.
use, like in World War II, when they fought the Italians, they used guerrilla tactics, used outside support, and they kicked out the Italians and eventually the Eritreans and Somalis and stuff like that. So, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, that conflict is just something, I guess, too, not personal to me, right? Because I'm an outsider of Birmingham, but for Ethiopians, they have ethnic hatred amongst each other.
They do, yeah.
The Amharas and Tigrayans, they basically going back and forth. Because those are the two practically, I guess, what you call the first people of Ethiopia per se, right?
Right. Yeah, they were like the
Yeah.
Amharas and
The rest
Tigrayans
don't.
were pretty much
The rest don't
the
matter.
founders.
The
They were pretty much
Amharas and the
founders.
Tigrayans founded Ethiopia. They're kind of like the top dogs of all Ethiopia. The other ethnic groups are kind of just used as pawns in these conflicts. Tigrayans are using Amharics are using Oromos, going back and forth. It's really unfortunate, but it is Africa. It is what it is, right? TBIA. That's
Yeah,
I think it's
right? and all that is a big TBD. We'll see what happens
TBD.
in the future.
Yeah, especially with that conflict.
But with the
Russian-
Ukrainian conflict, it is a little bit more predictable.
You think it'll end up like Yugoslavia?
Oh God, I hope not. But like it's
That was messed up.
I really hope
The
not.
Serbs are just basically Russians, but just closer to Italy. That's what they're kind of very similar people. So, I mean, they screwed up Yugoslavia.
Look.
Do you remember Joseph Tito?
Of course.
That was the homie. Remember the Yugo car? Remember the Yugo car? My grandpa had that. The Yugo.
The Yugo.
Yeah, he got 0 chicks in that whip. He got 0 chicks in that whip. He had to go back home. He got arranged marriage. He's like, is he making a city? That's a bad.
Look, I mean, hearts go out to everyone in Ukraine. Anyone with family members and whatnot, friends. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible situation.
Do you think this conflict is gonna, go out, spill over Ukraine?
I don't
Do you
think
think
so.
they're gonna attack?
I don't think it will.
Because
I do not think it will spill out of Ukraine.
Vlad is not that.
And no, that's actually because the West would refuse to take part in it.
But they created the conflict.
They didn't quite create the conflict.
They indirectly created the conflict.
They indirectly had.
They're like, hey, here's a cookie. Here's a cookie. You want the
Look,
cookie?
man.
And then when you grab the cookie, you only grab half of it.
They only take it back.
They take it back.
The cookie back.
They're like, but this is the crumbs. That's what you get. That's what you get. You get the crumbs. We're gonna give you F-16s.
Here's your F-16.
Here's your F-16s. But we have no pilots.
MiGs.
They're giving them MiGs.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, bro.
Poland is getting the
Eritrea
F-16s.
has MiGs, dude. Oh god, bro. Man, they got them messed up, dude. That's like giving them a Buick and saying like, you at least have a car. Like, oh my god, bro.
Or it's like I don't know which country it was in Africa that was using, not even just in Africa, in the Middle East, that was using like Toyota Hiluxes as military vehicles. Like they just put machine guns on the back of them.
That was ISIS. That was ISIS.
It's not just ISIS.
Wrong conflict.
It's not just ISIS.
Oh, you're talking about the
There were literal militaries that were.
Oh, Libya. You're talking about Libyan Civil War.
Libya, yeah. It was a bunch of Toyota pickup trucks, bro.
Oh my god, dude.
With like machine guns strapped to the
We
side.
should have bought Toyota stocks then.
Should
have bought Toyota
Toyota
stocks.
stock is never a bad idea.
No, it's not. It's way better than
Never.
nuclear shit that we're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, I love
Clearly with
nuclear
this
energy.
conflict,
I love nuclear energy, but look, they're just taking it away from us.
Yeah.
I'm still nukes for the future, man. But
you're now
the world's
considered
not letting it happen.
Cringe because
exactly.
of that. Now you're cringe.
Now I'm cringe.
Ooh, Miscan, nuclear energy.
Nuclear proliferating.
Nuclear proliferation.
When ironically, nuclear proliferation would have saved Ukraine.
Wow.
Just saying.
But wait, you want to talk about South Africa for a little bit and how they lost their nukes?
Let's talk about that, and we gotta wrap it up soon.
Oh man, okay. That's
South Africa.
South Africa.
So,
this country's man. So basically, South Africa was ruled by a minority white population for a long time. They were called the Boers. They weren't really liked in the international scene because of apartheid and stuff like that. But they created nuclear weapons, right?
Right.
1991, they gave it up because they didn't want, I guess, the black population to have the nuclear weapons.
They just did not want.
They did not. Imagine an African country having nukes.
African
I'm not
country
talking
with
about
nukes,
Libya
man.
with their chemical weapons and the little science project and
Nah,
whatnot.
man.
I'm talking about a nuclear weapon, bro.
Like
I'm talking
actual
about
deterrence.
there's not that many
Genuine
countries with
deterrence.
that, bro. Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not even just the deterrence, but also the field around it that enables.
Yeah.
Like, people get to be educated about this sort of thing.
Mm.
There would be more nuclear energy. And I don't even know, are there any nuclear energy plants in South Africa?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not necessarily about the weapons, right? That's just one aspect of it. It's the energy. It's the energy that you can use. If you use it wisely, you can do it. But South Africa, unfortunately, ever since apartheid ended, was actually led by very incompetent people. Not saying anything about Nelson Mandela. He did a fantastic job. Thabo Mbeki, he also did a good job. He was the vice president for Nelson Mandela. And in 2008, pretty bad year. Thabo Mbeki, he resigned due to the infighting the ANC. Jacob Zuma basically overthrew him practically through the African National Congress. And Jacob Zuma has now ruined South Africa. And now his successor, right, His name is Cecil Ramaphosa, who's a very corrupt individual, but never gets caught. He hides his books. He's not a typical African leader. He hides his books. He opens his company under his son's name. That's what. Instead of opening his name, he opens his son's name. And so, South Africa has basically, it was the first world country in Africa, first world in the sense of like how Western people say it, and it was way better than all the jokes in Europe and South America and other countries and whatnot. And in a matter of 10 years, they transitioned from a first world country to a second world country. If they had nuclear weapons, they maybe have been able to diversify their economy.
Even now,
they could have diversified their economy.
Has 2 nuclear energy plants.
Do they even use it?
I'm curious about that.
Do they even generate
South
the nuclear?
Africa not using it. They lack adequate water to support coal-fired power generation.
Isn't there like Atlantic and Pacific coast?
Nuclear is a non-negotiable.
Isn't there like 2 oceans on each side?
They're both active. And they produce almost 10% of the country's electricity. 2 plants. 2 nuclear plants.
Imagine if that's 6.
Almost 10%.
Yeah.
Of the entire energy needs of the country.
Wow.
2.
Quite a lot.
1 coal plant makes maybe 0.00005%.
Wow.
Nukes for the future. That's always going to be my stance.
So maybe nuclear energy does have a future, but
does.
maybe it's on our lifetime.
Who knows?
Maybe.
And honestly, it might not be. It might be 100, 200 years before people start getting their shit together.
Wow.
As long as military conflicts exist too, makes it very difficult to have nuclear energy. Because look at what's happening in Ukraine. They're attacking nuclear plants. And I think they're doing it strategically so they don't, have a meltdown.
The first places they started attacking I believe it's Chernobyl. Was that in Ukraine?
No, Chernobyl was...
Not
They
Chernobyl.
didn't attack Chernobyl.
Not Chernobyl. What am I saying? What am I saying?
It was actually handed over to the Russians so that they could deal with it.
There was a place in Ukraine that they first attacked just because that nuclear...
I don't remember. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, it was near the border. But anyways, they're basically... If Ukraine had nuclear weapons, Russia wouldn't mess with Ukraine.
How could they?
I think Vladimir Putin, I think he actually might win this war in the long term. Because the West can't directly fight in the conflict.
No, they
Just
can't.
because you give a guy an AK-47 doesn't mean that he can use it.
I mean, we're literally entering a second Cold War.
Yeah, and I don't think we're actually going to win this conflict.
And it's actually way more complicated than the first one.
And we're not going to win this conflict. I mean, you're not going to hear this on CNN, but majority of Ukraine is already controlled by Russia. Okay? That's just the truth. Now we just have to deter them from invading all... Dude, it's
control versus
occupy. Okay, the correct term is occupy. They occupy half of the country.
That may be more fair.
And the air, they control the skies. They control the navy. They control the seas. That's why if there's a no fly zone in place in Ukraine, similar to what NATO did in other conflicts like Libya and Yemen and all that stuff like that, because they can get away with it because those other militaries aren't capable of fighting NATO airplanes and stuff like that.
Right.
So with Russia, the war's already won. The Ukrainians are only fighting a ground war. Yeah, there is the Ghost of Kiev. Apparently, he destroyed 10 or 15 Russian fighter jets. But that's like peace to Putin. He can just get more from China, and they're willing to sell it.
He's got
and
more.
He's getting it.
He doesn't need to buy more. He's got them.
And Russia is part of the Security Council in the United Nations, and they're pretty influential.
Kicking them out from.
But you would have to have Russia vote for that to kick themselves out. Because remember in World War II, the 5 legendary countries. Remember the 5 legendary countries, the superpowers. So it's like, dude, can you please vote yourself out? That's like slapping yourself in the foot, or in the face, or shooting yourself in the foot. That's not gonna happen. Think, Jesus, bro.
Yeah, it's dicey, man.
It's more than dicey, dude. It's batshit crazy.
We can't even give accurate predictions. It is more predictable than like the Ethiopian conflict, but it's still just like the only prediction I can even make is Russia wins the battle, and Ukraine is under occupation for God knows how long. And that's exactly what I don't think anybody wants.
Probably 80 years. I mean, it's kind of similar to like what happened to the Soviet Union was created, and the collapse was like 80 years, right?
Alternatively,
they're going to incorporate Ukraine into Russia.
If the
they're going to start moving Russia's...
Right, but that's a very difficult thing to do. That's way harder than winning a war.
No, dude, but bro, the Russians, they're just going to get people from the prisons, the very poor people, the homeless people. They're gonna give them incentives. Immigration, right? Magic word, immigration. They're gonna move them into Ukraine and get married to
Which
Ukrainians.
is what they were doing already in Crimea.
Yeah, and basically half of Ukraine is now is basically Russian, ethnic Russians or ancestral Russians. The other half is just purely Ukrainians.
Right.
Over time, it's a pure numbers game. All Ukrainians are gonna end up being like Russians. At least Russia will be a second language to them, or they might have Russian relatives.
Fly them out. Let's fly them out.
What, and put them where? Puerto Rico?
We've mentioned this before. We've got space.
Oh, West Virginia.
West Virginia, baby.
Yeah, they need to fix Puerto Rico. Speaking of that country, that place.
That's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Dan and Neb Show. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Our hearts go out to everyone in Ukraine. Yeah, you, Putin.
Yeah, Putin. I mean, you're a very smart guy, but I'm not sure if your brain's fully there. You lack emotional intelligence. I can say that. That's the least I can say. That KGB training can only get you so far. In a positive way, but, negative. No, it's negative. Negative.
And we'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen.
Good luck, Zelensky. You'll need it. And Putin, you. Signing out. Neb.